it's funny because so I was doing content marketing, and then I switched companies, and the company, their product was in the user research space. I had absolutely, as a marketer at the time, that was in 2016, I had absolutely nothing to do with user research. I didn't barely know what it was, to be honest with you. But there the CEO was kind of, hey, like, why don't you just have conversations with the customer? I'm like, what? Like, I'm doing content here. Like, why am I, you know? And for me, in this first round where I actually did 10 interviews with, I kind of split it between potential customers that were not interested in the solution, potential customers that were interested and still in the pipeline, and then 3 customers. That just opened my eyes because they just told me their challenges, and I could start writing about their challenges, and then naturally they would Google their challenges, I guess. And so for us, it was also SEO. So they would Google their challenges, and I was like, oh, okay. So now I had so much more confidence once I did some form of like customer research, user research around content. And I don't think in the marketing space I guess it's increasing, but it's not the common way of like putting together a content calendar, I guess.
Yeah. So here's a bit of a story about my career that I don't think anybody should replicate, but it's a good example. So I was a content marketer for years, and then I worked in the UX department with content. And then I realized that I actually didn't really know much about user research, much like you said. So I took a temporary but voluntary detour from content marketing to become a UX researcher. And then I spent a year and a half just completely changing jobs just to see what that meant. Boy, was that a learning curve that I wish every marketer could have in one way or another, because I spent hundreds of hours in the lab interviewing people, looking at how they went about finding solutions to their problems. It was amazing. And I think actually it's such a valuable thing to do for a marketer. So whoever is listening to this podcast right now, like forget about product-led content. That's all good. But like the first thing you need to do is actually talk to your customers, prospective, existing, just get on a Zoom call or whatever format and talk to the people you're doing this for. It is such an eye-opening experience. And I think it really changes the way that you think about content marketing from then on. And the more you do, the more you really do start understanding what it means to do content for an audience as opposed to content for the sake of it.
Yeah, I mean, I can second that 100%. Like it's interesting because I got into the UX space this way, right? And then our customers were user researchers. So, and I kind of found that that what changed for me was I was stop writing about like stuff that everybody in the company thought or like their opinion was that we should write about, but it was actually what the customer told us that their challenges are. And then I didn't at the time, and I think when you marry the two, when you have the product-led content married with user research, it's super powerful because then you can, on top of that, you know what challenges to write about, you also can then write about like challenges that are give the 3 points that you mentioned before on the Ahrefs scale, right? And then it's even more powerful. So
and also, sorry, if I may add it to complement this, when you talk to customers, not only do you hear about challenges, you also hear about success. And that's great because then you can create a lot of other content that speaks to how you can successfully do more with or do better at. And you can also use their experience. And in fact, if your customers are as nice as mine were, they will maybe even give you access to their own screenshots and they will show you how they were using the platform. In our case, a lot of from these calls that I had with customers, out of that came articles where they sent me screenshots of the
Love
service that they launched or the results that they had, the heat maps that they used. And that was that's just such, it's the culmination of all things that are good about content, because you got authority, but you got people's proof, you got the product in place, it's optimized for SEO, it's customer focused, it's just great. It just makes me so happy to be a content marketer sometimes when you see all these things come together in a piece, and then it can actually make a difference. It's great.